right, joining me now from, we go to Austin, Texas to check in with friend of our show, Anna versus the Man, Alex Jones, and host of the Alex Jones radio show and Infowars.com. Alex, by request from our viewer, winner of the executive producing contest, John Rizzo, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Well, thanks for having me. I enjoy watching your show. I was just watching it last night on the local cable system here in Austin.
Wow, we've reached distribution. Awesome. I'm glad to see that we've got that reach now. But let me ask you, Alex, because you're really good at putting things like this in perspective, in the big picture. Why should everyday Americans be at least informed about what Monsanto is and what threat does it pose?
Well, Monsanto is more of a military operation, a conquering army. They've stated that they want to take over the entire biosphere and patent all major forms of life. So they see natural crops, natural foods, as their enemy that need to be taken over via a corporate takeover. And that's why their whole history with the Agent Orange and the Terminator seeds and the bovine hormone, all of it has been so horrific. The aspartame. But there's one area in your great report that you didn't get into, and that's the fact that Monsanto and other big agri companies and other GMO companies gave a record amount of money last year to try to ram through the, quote, Food Safety Act that was designed to shut down small family farms, ranches, and organic food producers. So they're not just infecting the biosphere with their GMO and then suing people who they've contaminated. They're also trying to get government to pass regulations to shut down their competition. So this is a total corporate takeover of the life cycle of the planet. It is something you would expect to be in a Superman comic book being carried out by the Legion of Doom or something.
Well, what's scary is how it's kind of, we've allowed it to creep up on us through Monsanto itself over about 100 years now, and finally people are starting to notice the significance of this. But let me just add, there's something I need you to explain. What is the relationship between Roundup and Roundup-ready crops, like Roundup-ready soybeans, which are now the most dominant distributed seed for soybeans in the United States?
Well, you've got to then spray their chemical on your crops. And then with many of these GMO crops they've produced, it then infects your crops. And even if there's 1% of their genetics in your soybeans or whatever you're growing, they come onto your property, pull samples of it, go test it, and then go show a court that, hey, part of our genetics is in this, even though you didn't use their seeds without paying them, they infected you. They have convinced the courts to then rule against your farm or your ranch. So it's extremely, extremely diabolical. And it's not just Monsanto. A lot of these other big GMO companies are coming out with crops that grow their own pesticide so that insects won't eat it inside of the corn, inside of the soybeans, inside of other major food crops. And they're saying, oh, it's safe for humans to be eating this pesticide because it's a natural pesticide. Sure, we've increased it 1,000 times in the case of the corn, the BT corn. We've increased the amount of this natural fungal pesticide 1,000 times, so it's okay. And then we wonder why it's connected to all of these different types of health problems. And in German studies, it's linked to some of the die-offs of the honeybees. It's just crazy. And it's perfect because it still looks like corn, it still looks like soybeans, it still looks like a regular sugar beet, but it's been fundamentally altered and manipulated. And there are hundreds of GMO companies coming out with thousands of different varieties of pharmacological crops where they actually grow drugs or grow viruses inside of crops that they then extract. And now it's been proven that these big pharmacological GMO companies, not just Monsanto, that their incredibly altered crops are now spreading into other crops, and now they're mixing reptile, fish, insect genes into the crops. I mean, this is beyond Brave New World.
So is the best thing that people can do to fight back against this simply buying organic foods, voting with their dollars, withdrawing their support from this system? Is that really the best viable option right now?
Adam, you're absolutely right. 10 years ago, you couldn't find organic food in most stores. Now it's been displacing the GMO stuff. So they've gone to the feds and gotten an authorization through the Food and Drug Administration to put an organic seal, a U.S. government seal on it, that it's organic, even if it's 75% non-organic.
So you have to even be that much smarter of a consumer and really digging to the bottom of all this. And I'm sorry, that's all the time we have, Alex, but I know that your show, the Alex Jones Show, Infowars.com, is also a great source for that kind of information. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.